On a recent Saturday afternoon, the world watched as SpaceX's Falcon 9 lifted off from American soil, streaked through the sky, and sent the Crew Dragon capsule beyond the Earth's atmosphere. By Sunday, its crew was successfully docked at the International Space Station. The following morning, Indianapolis-based Eli Lilly and Company announced the start of human testing of a potential treatment for COVID-19. Falcon 9, the first rocket to send men to space from America in a decade, was traveling at 10 times the speed of sound. And Lilly's COVID-19 therapy is moving nearly as fast. It often takes a dozen years to develop a drug. This one could be available in just months. Neither happened spontaneously, though. They're the result of years of savvy technological and scientific investments, of partnerships between private industry and government. Such investments, such partnerships, open new horizons in space exploration and disease fighting. And they show us the endless frontier into which American imagination and ingenuity can carry us. We Americans have always been drawn to the frontier. Yes, the natural frontier of wildernesses and unfamiliar territories from which states such as mine sprang, but also the frontier that bounds what we as humans were once imagined to be capable of accomplishing after our forebears settled across this great continent. Americans see the heavens and don't simply wonder what they hold. We see loved ones grow sick, and we don't just resign ourselves to the prognosis. We create cures. Americans would always rather build a rocket ship than a rest home. We're driven by a deep need to lift one another, to discover breakthroughs that will lead to the betterment of all mankind. And among the most powerful allies we have in accomplishing this are our science and research and the innovations that they fuel. In the 20th century, Vannevar Bush beautifully captured the essence of American culture, of discovery and innovation. He first coined the memorable term endless frontier. Bush, you see, was a visionary, an unsung hero of World War II. He was the man who saw the importance of science and discovery in defeating the Axis powers. As President Franklin D. Roosevelt's unofficial science advisor, he initiated the Manhattan Project and ensured that it received top priority from the highest levels of government. Later, in his 1945 report to the president entitled Science, the Endless Frontier, Bush called for an expansion of public support for science and paved the way for the creation of the National Science Foundation. He believed that America's security and prosperity depended upon pre-market investment in science and technology. Basic research, in his words, was the pacemaker of technological progress. New products and processes do not appear full-grown, he said. They are founded on new principles and new conceptions, which in turn are painstakingly developed by research in the purest realms of science. Bush was right. The years that followed proved it. A National Science Foundation was created. A space age was ushered in. A space race was won. An evil empire was defeated. All in an era of historic prosperity that was only possible because of America's economic and technological supremacy, itself built on government-funded pre-market research. Bush originally articulated the importance of science to the nation's fortunes in a time of peril. While the challenges we face today are of a different nature, we are again in such a time. A mysterious virus with no known cure has spread across the globe, killed thousands of Americans, and crippled our economy. A new power competition is now underway, and America's predominant challenger is an unscrupulous, authoritarian regime whose values are the inverse of our own. For proof, witness Beijing's leveraging of COVID-19 to further its goal of global dominance and authorship of this new century. To meet these new challenges, we must once again show the entire world the resiliency and dynamism of the American people, the American economy, the American spirit, and the American project itself. And to do this, we mustn't simply advance again towards the endless frontier, but accelerate into it. The Endless Frontier Act, authored by Senator Schumer and me, will provide the rocket fuel for America's innovators and visionaries. Let us resolve here today to pass it, so that this generation of American doers and dreamers and their children can propel us forward and win the 21st century. Here's how and why we should act. The Endless Frontier Act will bolster U.S. leadership in science and tech innovation and boldly increase pre-market investment in emerging tech. It will provide $100 billion in strategic investment in the National Science Foundation to bolster science and technology research and development. It will deliver $10 billion to establish regional tech hubs across the country to launch innovative companies, revive American manufacturing, and create new jobs to jumpstart our local communities. And in coming years, it will strengthen American power, increase American prosperity, and carry on America's never-ending quest to continuously improve the world through innovation. Let us pass this act. If we do, another endless frontier will be before us, and with it, a stronger, freer, more prosperous nation, and a world in which free men and women author this new century. Dating back to the Cold War, after China had developed military might, its leaders focused on science and technology as a means to reorder the global balance of power. Since then, Beijing has aimed to overtake America, not with weapons, but with innovation. Offensively, China is investing in 5G, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, advanced energy systems, all of which have the potential to fundamentally change this century's economic and security environment for good or for ill. Defensively, China is shoring up domestic industries while exploiting our economic downturn and cynically using the pandemic to play the part of concerned global citizen to further its position in the world. And that's not a conspiracy theory, it's public knowledge. A new report from the Chinese Academy of Sciences bluntly observes, quote, "It is possible to turn the crisis of COVID-19 into an opportunity to increase the trust and the dependence of all countries around the world in made in China," unquote. Tellingly, for China, the search to find treatments for COVID-19 is not simply a race to stop the virus, but a race for bragging rights and global superiority. The CCP is dedicating millions of dollars to research into drug development. 5 out of the 10 top vaccine candidates are coming from China. As they have in other fields of research, China has recently ramped up spending on pharmaceutical research, no doubt with an eye on surpassing America in yet another field. The first COVID-19 vaccine could be the key. If all of these trends continue, China's overall investments in research and development will surpass our own within 10 years, just as their economy becomes larger than our own. Until now, we've primarily focused on defensive countermeasures to thwart the aggression of the CCP. Blocking Huawei, tightening export controls, improving foreign investment rules. These are important. They must remain in place. But if America is to lead the world in the 21st century, it's neither realistic nor practical to build an economic iron curtain around China. We're not in a 20th century Cold War. But we can learn and apply lessons from that Cold War. Just as we did in the 20th century, we mustn't simply contain a competitor, but instead out-innovate and outgrow them. Something else is in the balance here, too. China longs to become the world's leader, but lacks the attachment to human rights and dignity required of those who seek to fill that role. What becomes of liberty in a world led by such a power? However imperfectly, every American generation, from the founding forward, has labored to preserve and pass down the blessings of freedom, here and wherever its friends may be found. And this current generation must carry this on and provide the world with a choice between a great power that defends freedom or one that tramples upon it. But we will be powerless to offer this alternative if we don't keep pace with China. And we will not have a shot at this unless we invest in ourselves. Implementing the Endless Frontier Act will provide that investment. It will prevent us from being outflanked, and it will pave the way for a second American century. One of the primary reasons why the 20th century was America's rather than Russia's was because we produced more prosperity. You see, wealth is a crucial weapon in global competition. Bold investment in pre-market research, like that proposed in our Endless Frontier Act, will generate more of it and make us a wealthier nation. The connection is undeniable and historic. When human beings began to apply science and technology to industry in pursuit of new goods and services, of greater efficiency and output, human wealth grew by historic bounds. Cognitive scientist Steven Pinker has charted this progress, and it is staggering. Human wealth barely advanced in the millennium after the year 1 AD, and had only doubled a half millennium later. Then the Industrial Revolution arrived. Between 1820 and 1900, the world's income tripled. 50 years later, it had tripled again. And again in 25 years. And again 30 years after that. This represents a 100-fold expansion of the world's gross domestic product since the Industrial Revolution, thanks to advancements in science and technology. And the technologies that ushered in this era were the result of curiosity, experimentation, failure, and ultimately, discovery. This is the formula for innovation, and it's something Americans are particularly familiar with. We are a creative people with a penchant for plunging ahead when we have an idea and searching for a solution when we see a problem. You know, it takes courage to be creative. And in America, we encourage and honor that courage. We celebrate those who try and fail and courageously get up and dust off their trousers and try again. We venerate our inventors: Bell, Edison, George Washington Carver, Jonas Salk, the Wright brothers, Tesla, Einstein, Page and Brin, Jobs, Musk. We know and remember their names, and we benefit daily from their contributions. Their life's work is a monument to human potential.